Hello and welcome. In this video I shall be talking about the lyrics on the album Existential Anti-Hero Volume 1. This is the piece of art for the album cover. Here is our existential anti-hero walking away from the bomb like a classic anti-hero. The first song on the album bears the same name, Existential Anti-Hero. This is the piece of art for that song. Now, the lyrics to Existential Anti-Hero were written on the same day as the first Trump assassination attempt in 2024. However, they were written before I heard news about that, so they weren't a direct response as such. I was writing about how, as a single male, I have no genealogical legacy. I do not identify as such, but in technicality I am an incel. Now that got me thinking about our neoliberal economic model. In part, it has caused the conditions that have created so many incels these days. So my reflections expanded to the wider community, the nation, and the world. Literally, after writing the line, "Oh, an experiential fight, fight, fight," my phone beeped with a notification about the Trump assassination attempt. I watched the videos and I nearly fell off my chair. Oh boy, because when Trump, surrounded by his bodyguards, got up from the assassination attempt and yelled, "Fight, fight, fight," it was exactly the same as what I was just writing about. So the synchronicity of my art and real life simultaneously going through its own existential crisis, and both saying life is a fight, encouraged me to explore the ideas generated in the lyrics of this song further and create a wider project also bearing the same name, Existential Anti-Hero. So, the second song on the album is called Tribal Natures, and here is the fiery piece of art to accompany that song. Now, the introduction of Tribal Natures starts with "End of the traitors, let the new traitors in. Open the portcullis and let the new treason begin." Those 4 lines, that quatrain, as you may call it, was written on the night of the UK general election in 2024. I have a tradition of always staying up and watching the general election results rolling through the night. I, the elected standing officer for somewhere, nowhere, Stockville, do honestly say that this person has won the vote. Anyway, other than my jocularity there, the election of 2024 was a most depressing night, I must say, because it's true. Now, the numbers proved that we have entered a period of sectarianism in the UK. This was confirmed by all the riots that followed the election in the summer of 2024. And the rest of the song's lyrics were written in response to the first riot, which started in Leeds, as you may remember, with the line, "Police boots run away from the fires," and then during the protests and the riots that happened across the country after the Stockport child murders. So when a country enters sectarianism, then tribalism is inevitable, hence the title Tribal Natures. People are forced to pick a tribe because the other side has already picked theirs. And when sectarianism arises, it means society has already declined from high trust to low trust. This, in combination with our tech dependence and our highly polarized bipartisan political discourse, where one is either deemed pure good or sheer evil, you'll be called incel, much worse than Hitler, oh we can tell. All this means that we are in epistemological freefall. Without trust, there is no truth. Without truth, all we know is we don't know. Which is a line from the chorus in Tribal Natures. Now the next song is called Emotional Capture. Emotional Capture. Here is the piece of art for that song, with a heart being extracted for its profitable blood. There's a kettle boiling. That's an obvious metaphor. If you don't know what it is, wake up. Here's some people marching and protesting with flags, because people love those bloody flags these days, don't they? Oh, excuse me. Now, emotional capture. Emotional capture, it reflects upon the highly emotional reaction to the protests, counter-protests and riots, as well as the political ramifications of those events. Although specifically written in response to the sectarian riots of 24, they apply to the wider social environment we have been living under for at least the past decade, I would say. However strongly some may feel attached to it, the liberal consensus will still collapse. Whoever we vote for, the government will still be crap. Whenever we are in a large group, a mob, then we lose individuality, and then the intellectual capture stops reality from creeping in. Although widely hated, the language of red pillars and MiG towers is now baked into culture, meaning that the men will still walk far away from any political entity that is emotionally captured by feminism. Trump's re-election was caused in part by men walking away from the Democratic Party. The lyric, "As we sing in American accents," is a metaphor for UK political discourse being frameworked by the USA. Blue sky thinking, not. Anyway, this is why Sleeping Albion shows no signs of waking. Most in the UK are unable to perceive truthful existence due to the American cultural fog about celebrating negation and deconstruction that pervades every film and broadcast. America appears to be becoming a police state, as does the UK, where open lawfare is the bureaucratic method used to suppress and manipulate the population. Now, as we move into C major, we move into the next song, which is Existence, with brackets open and closing it. Existence on Demand. Control, power, and culture are the themes of Existence on Demand. The aftermath of the riots revealed just how easily the government can manipulate us, using creative narratives that are created on demand. It can enforce adherence to the narrative with swift justice, such as the 24-hour courts that we've seen opened to deal with the bigoted thugs and hooligans, as the Prime Minister calls them. Keir Starmer's speeches during the riots were coded messages, goading the public to try and take on the establishment, to try and, in the old song's words, take on the law and let the law win. Therefore the lyric, communities are exposed just to further the struggle. It's a reflection on this behaviour and how the government was willing to capitalise on all the violence and leave communities vulnerable. Those protesting the murder of children were quickly relabelled as far-right rioters. War is risked just to prove a point. The point being that citizens exist as just another service unit. They must fall in line. Neoliberals must be obeyed, or suffer the wrath of imaginative lawyers who will send you to profitable jails. Whether you are left or right is immaterial. It's immaterial. If you counter the popular control narrative, you will not be listened to. Hence the lyric, what's the bloody point? No one listens. In Keir Starmer's inaugural speech after being elected, he said he wanted to herald a government of service. One cannot serve the people if one is incapable of listening to their security needs, Keir, let alone their hopes and dreams. Can we dream anymore? Can we even imagine a better future? Can we imagine a new economic model which isn't neoliberalism? Unfortunately, I don't think we can anymore. Here's the piece of art for the next song, which is called Can We Dream in Negation Nation? And the fact that we can't dream of anything new is the motivation behind the lyrics. We seem stuck, monitored by such Orwellian eyes, looking down on us and scanning our faces, because this is a symbol for facial scanning cameras in your area, so look out for this symbol. It could be useful to know such things. So, can we dream in Negation Nation? Well, the song is less narratively structured than the previous songs on the album, consisting of fragmentary observations and meta-modern deviations. Now the phrase negation, negation nation is a development of the lyric from the first song where I stated nations stand against themselves. Both of these lyrics indicate that we live in a post-democratic society. Governments used to represent and protect their populace. Now it's the opposite. They do so by winning the misinformation war, as well as producing a culture of super fast fashion and placards and flag waving. So much flag waving these days, oh, it's so tiring. The epistemological freefall we are all enduring is another consequence of the ignorant totalitarians with minds most titular that are described in this song. Can you hear the street protests, I ask, in another lyric. I imagine you probably can hear the street protests, as they are now part and parcel of daily life. Isn't that fun? The last song on Existential Anti-Hero Volume 1 is called Ruminations in the Dark Forest. and it describes our post-democratic, post-ethical, and epistemologically free-falling existence. It is therefore the most cynical of these cynical songs of dissent. Democracy, it is indeed a good idea, but it does not exist in our contemporary situationscape. Voting, it does not affect political change in the slightest. Ethics means nothing when the law is arbitrary and justice is dependent on whether one can afford competent lawyers. Knowledge, otherwise known as verifiable, justified true beliefs, can only prosper in an overarching atmosphere of trust and cooperation, where political backstabbing is not the norm, where individual identity is not defined by ideology. So when that ideology is criticized, one takes it as a personal attack. You attack that idea, therefore you're attacking me. That's a false dichotomy. Where political discourse is not controlled by tech corporations and online terms of service limiting expressions. All these anti-truth factors are summed up by the metaphor of the forest in the song. A forest that one must fight through in order to ascertain even a modicum of bruised and battered truth. In my next video, I shall talk about the lyrics on Existential Anti-Hero Volume 2. Make sure you check out both volumes. There's 6 songs on each volume, and they're both about half an hour each. So, check them out. Make sure to like, subscribe and comment. And when you comment, make sure you write them in a West Country accent for some reason. I don't know how you're going to do that. Maybe just put an R. Put an R in the comment. R. Right then. Au revoir. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.